Welcome back to the Pathway Towards Freedom Advice to Yesterday Self. I sat staring at my board. I've got like 40 topics on it, trying to figure out like what do I want to bring forward today? And here's what I'm going to bring forward. A little bit vulnerable. I have a bad habit. I've had a bad habit of fixing everything in my life, of being the one who jumps in to be the cheerleader for others, who overly supports, overly gives. My heart is huge. I'm super sensitive and I'm also spicy nice. So it gets confusing for a lot of people, including myself sometimes. And I've been sitting here processing, like, I spent a lot of time going back to the other versions of me and making sure that she's okay, making sure that I'm healing the perception of what was. Because in the Power 369, when we heal what was, we change the vibration of what will be. And that's how we evolve. And that's how we start to bring in the beauty and the desire that we have into our world. And so I was sitting here reflecting, and I've been spending a lot of time with 30-year-old me. You guys know this. She's getting some love right now. And I just sat there and I was like, you know what, babe? Do you. Do you. Just you. Do it for you and just do you and watch what happens. So, as a child, I got into the habit of being the safeguard, like trying to create safety for the other people in my life. There was a lot of abuse and a lot of explosive abuse, and then a lot of like hidden mental attacks and just grossness. And so it's always on alarm, always, and always aching for freedom, always aching to be seen, to be loved, to be nurtured, and doing my damnedest to receive that or prevent the pain for other people in my life, which made me super strong. Um, which then I got a lot of judgment for that in my early 20s and my 30s. So as I'm looking back on all the versions of me, there's a defining moment, which is so cringy and embarrassing if you could see what I saw. I was 12 and I think it was my first school dance. And I love music and I dance and I don't care. And at 8 years old, the same thing happened. But at 12, I went to my first school dance and I was given it. Like, this is back in the 80s. I was like popping out my hands and doing this back step thing. And I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I remember one of the teachers actually laughing and being like, wow, you're really going for it, aren't you? And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Yeah, I'm going for it. So I went even more and never thought in that moment, never gave a fuck what anybody thought. And then I had another moment. It's always about dancing for me. I was 17 and I was at a school dance and it was like a much music dance. I don't know if you guys know what that is, really aging myself here. But they had these big speakers that you could dance on, right? And I had no interest in being the sexy girl. I had no interest in being the popular girl. I didn't give a fuck. And they were playing this song that was like really like emo and in my heart. So I jumped up on the speaker and I was like rocking out and singing because like I do want to be a rock star one day. Like my next life, I better come back with a dick and a microphone. Like I want to be a rock star so bad. So I'm just giving it, singing and like acting out the song. And my version of dancing is literally interpretive dance. Like it's ridiculous, but not in the cool way, in the like play out the lyrics way. And so I'm having this moment on the stage and the popular girls are like judging me. And those are the three moments in my life where I actually didn't give a fuck. Every other moment in my life, oh, I gave. Oh, I gave all my fucks. I was like, let me find them in my pocket and offer them to you. Like, I don't know what to do. Um, and so I'm sitting with all those versions. And what really hit me today with all of that was when I was working with my 30-year-old self, she was dating that narcissist. We all know the story. And he required, as narcissists do, all of the attention. So we were going through some big transitions. He was going, oh, whatever. I had just written Divine Alignment. And I was super proud of it. And I knew it was going to take off and change the world. That's a program that our mentors do here at Domino Mentoring. And so this is like forever ago, right? So I'd written it all out. I'd built the foundation of it. I'd gone to school. I'd graduated. I incorporated all of that into this new world or this new age therapy kind of thing. Um, I was really proud of myself. How dare I? How dare I be proud of myself while dating a narcissist? It meant endless hours of every day he would get home from work and pour himself a big ass whiskey, and we'd have to go sit on the deck, and he'd process all of the things he was working through, and I had to be the support system. I thought I had to be the support system, and I chose to be. So I did it for him. And that meant a huge void with my children because, of course, he consumed a lot of time, and I didn't know he was a narcissist until way after the fact. So all of my love and all of my power and all of my knowledge was being poured into this relationship. And she didn't need to do that. It's not her role. It was never her role to fix anybody else. It was her role to stand in her truth, to build what she's built now and bring that to the world for those that are ready for it. But I did. And then when I reflect back on all of me, I would dress the way I thought I had to dress in order to be attractive, in order to fit in. I would make sure that I never, my hair is really curly naturally. Well, right now, obviously it's fake, but whatever. Um, but like, hi, I'm just kidding. I have really curly hair, so I would always straighten it because that's what was acceptable. I wouldn't wear it curly. I made sure that I was always a little bit edgy and, following the trends, all that bullshit in my teens. And in my 20s, I turned and morphed into I had a very explosive partner who would just lose his temper in a heartbeat, and we'd never know why. So I went into damage control, pre damage control, like making sure that the Lego wasn't on the floor so I didn't step on the kids' Lego, making sure the kids were quiet, make sure they were fed, make sure the house was clean, make sure that I was put together, make sure that my makeup was on, make sure my hair was done, make sure that I do it for him. And that progressed into when I got divorced and I ended up homeless. I had to get my shit together really fast. Like I got abandoned hardcore. We were Jehovah's Witnesses. It was like they thought I was cheating. I wasn't the one cheating. I'm just going to put that out there. But I wanted out of it. And so the whole congregation, the elders, my family, his family, all abandoned me all at once. And I was completely disowned and left with the car. And then they took the car. And so I was homeless for a small amount of time. And I had to do it for the finances in order to have a home for my children. So then I went into it doing it for the career. And while I was in that, which was a real cringy timeline, like I was working for a fitness in the fitness industry, and I was trying my damnedest to be everything that I thought everybody needed, trying to be successful, trying to be knowledgeable, trying to be kind, trying to be strong, trying to be determined, all well, wanting to take my life because the divorce was hell. So I was doing it for that. And then I got into another relationship as a safety mechanism because, well, if this one will keep me, then at least I have a house, right? Not cool, but I did. So I jumped into a relationship where he cheated on me endlessly, the entire relationship, but yet I still got engaged to him like a moron. And I did everything in my power for him to be kept. And then it morphed and it morphed and it morphed. And then comes the narcissist, where all of a sudden I have the education, the knowledge, the knowing, and the passion of bringing something to the world. And he's like, let me just capitalize on that. And so I did everything in my power for him and his family while trying to sustain for my children, while trying to find myself in all of it. So I didn't do it for me. And I kept doing that. And then, man, I look back. So then I dated this other person who liked blonde hair and they liked short hair. So what did I do? Dyed it blonde, cut it short. They liked high heels. So I wore high heels. They liked fancy, fancy. So I became fancy, fancy. I did it for them. I didn't do it for me. And it was all of the snowball energy. And you guys know, like I was given an 8-week death sentence post cancer. And I was like, all right, I got to do it for me. And that's when everything shifted. I started dancing for me. I didn't care. I started singing. I never sang. Like, not the greatest skill set, but I was like, oh, much. And I love doing it. So I started singing in the house. I started taking me time and setting boundaries. I started my self care. I really dove into healing my physical body and being really aware of what it required with everything that it was going through. And once I crossed that bridge of, okay, you're going to be on earth for a little bit more, then I fully did it for me. And that is when my whole life shifted. Um, literally did it for me. I had some boo-boos, some with the business when I was first launching, like really bringing that to the world on the level that it is now, where I overgive and, anybody who I see potential in, I'm like, oh, let's do it together instead of just doing it. But I've learned that the hard way. And now here I am looking back and going, it was when I chose to do it for me. I sold everything, donated everything. I was so bougie, let it all go. And everything I owned fit in a suitcase. And my children were late teens at this point. So my son didn't want to come. My daughter would eventually. So I just picked up and I went. I went to Costa Rica and spent a whole lot of years discovering myself and that land and living for me and making sure that I was doing what I could to nurture my children from that space and coming home and visiting, but really living for me. And that was a flip for everybody in my life at that timeline when I chose to fully stand in doing it for me, which was like the 8-week death sentence was part of it. But also leaving the narcissist and having one of my caregivers and a very, very woman that I love tremendously, a family member, disowned me for the last time, like ran away for the last time. And I was like, that's the last time. So I'm going to stand up and do this for me. And I chose to just face it all, face my fears, get the courage up to say yes to the things that I required, got the courage up to finally just go get all the tattoos that I wanted to get because it's for me. It's my body for me. And took that path and really just spicy. That's when I got spicy and not like spicy nice, not like I'm not an asshole, although I can be interpreted that way. But I stopped giving a shit. I stopped caring what other people thought. I was going to face it took a lot of courage. And that's what it takes, guys. Every day, a couple of times a day, I'd go to the mirror and be like, how brave are you willing to be right now? Are you really willing to cross this bridge, to jump into these things, to not care, to not do it for anyone else, and to not care who's looking and who's judging and who's gossiping? And as I transitioned through that, the community that I was in, there was a lot of gossip. Oh my God. Small towns, right? And I used to joke that there was an I hate dime club because I just became completely unfiltered. And I don't mean that in a pointing finger way. I mean that in I'm living for me. I'm doing this for me, for what I want to bring to the world, for who I desire to become, to evolve into, for my body, for my mind, for my emotions, for my inner child, for my past self. I am going to be so fucking brave and I'm going to stand here and be me and discover what is that authenticity? Who is this woman? Because I literally had no idea. I had no idea going through it all because I was so consumed with what people thought. I was so consumed with trying to be kept. I was so consumed in trying to convince my caregivers, even though I'm an adult, family, that I wasn't an asshole, that I wasn't too strong, that I was a big heart and it was never received. And it's like this moment of you look at people and you have to be brave within yourself. But you have to look at the people in your life and say, are they capable and are they willing? If they are unwilling, they will never become capable of seeing you. And there was unwilling across the board for me in the community I was in everything that I had walked away from, unwilling. And I was like, watch me. And that was the attitude I took. Not in a F you, in a, I don't actually care. And if I trigger you, you're welcome because I just triggered something that probably wants to be healed. And I would say it much nicer than that, but you're welcome if I triggered you. And that was my motto for a little while, quite a while, maybe even still. I'm not going to lie. So once I decided to do it for me, it changed because I filled myself with so much passion. I filled myself with so much desire, with so much knowing, with so much trust, with so much courage. And it does take courage, let me tell you. It took a lot of courage to let go, especially with my foundation of I'm not safe to be me. I'm not safe to put my guard down. That's my childhood. If I put my guard down, I'm going to get abused. If I put my guard down with male energy, I'm going to get raped. If I put my guard down, I'm going to be abandoned. So, like, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, try, 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 try. And it was when I was like, no, me first. And not in a selfish way, in a self whole way. I still overgave my huge heart, like hardcore, hardcore. I did my best to take care of everybody in my life. And I didn't realize that that's what I was still doing, even up until about like 5 years ago. Probably even still, actually. Probably even still. Um, but I'm more mindful about it now and making sure that it's an equal exchange, being brave enough to expect an equal exchange. And when your vibration, the highest vibration is authenticity, whether you are purely an asshole or purely a pure heart, it doesn't matter. Authenticity is the highest vibration. When you are unfiltered, when you are, this is what I am, and not stubborn in refusal, but this is who I choose to be. When you own who you choose to be, and that's the big point of all of this, when you own who you are choosing to be, you will have an excessive amount of that reflected back to you. So I was choosing to be a victim to my past. I was choosing to be the storyteller of how the hardships I had, the financial lack I had. I was choosing to be the girl who got abandoned. I was choosing to be the recovering cancer, whatever, whatever. I was making all those choices. And then all of a sudden I chose to be brave and let it all go. And I chose to follow my passions and my dreams. I Costa Rica came into the knowing that I would go there, came in probably 2012. And my daughter was still in her like mid teens, early teens. And I wanted to go so bad. And I got talked out of it because it was like, well, you can't do that with your daughter and you can't give her that life. And what happens? You're a single woman. I didn't do it for me. So it was years later that I did. And that's probably the thing that changed me the most. Like I went from so bougie and really materialistic, actually. Not like really materialistic, but I was materialistic. I loved my material possessions and I worked really hard to attain those. And now I work really hard to hire others. So everything that this company collects financially gives me an opportunity to give someone else employment. And that's my driving force now because I know how hard it is to ache. I know the pain of aching for soul purpose and being in a heart centered business. So now I have that honor and that luxury. And it's beautiful. And the love of my life came in, who pampers me ridiculously. It's amazing. And it's just really great. So I want you to take time today when you see this to just ponder. This doesn't have to be a serious homework. We're just going to ponder, who am I choosing to be? What stories am I choosing to share, to tell, to partake in? Am I choosing to be brave, to discover who I desire to be? Becoming authentic is becoming pure within what you desire and who you desire to be. You get to choose who you desire to be. I thought I had to be strong my whole life, and I still am, but it's not a forced strong now. I just am. And so, and I'm funny. And well, I think I'm hilarious. If you met me in real life with some tequila shots, let me tell you, I will not just tell a story. I will act the whole thing out for you, like full body action. It's like a production. Um, and I love that about me. I love unicorns. I wear the unicorn blow up outfit that you guys have seen. I like, you get to be whoever you desire to be. So what are you dedicated to right now? And where are you lacking courage to change that story or to dive into the reasons you're telling that story? I think that's the first step. Why is this a story I'm choosing to tell? You're going to have evidence of the story you tell. The moment that you really understand where that story comes from, you will change the vibration. I teach that in the program Fully Awake and Ascend at the very end when I talk about the Power 369. But what it means is what you perceive your reality to be, you'll be floating into what. So if you've had financial straight problems for a little while, right? struggling financially is what I'm trying to say. So if you've had that, you're going to be like creating that back into your life. You're going to be pulling in that same story over and over again. So you can change the story. That's awesome, but it's not going to change the vibration until you understand what's holding you back in your subconscious. So I want you to dive into all of those things on what choices am I making and can I do it for me? Can I find the courage to be brave enough to say, this is what's required for me to arrive at my desired outcome? This is what's required for me. So I'm doing it and I'm going to find a way and it's going to align and it's going to work. And you're just going to trust me. And that's it. And if you don't want to trust me, I'm doing it for me. So figure it out. Spicy nice. Spicy nice. All right. Felt like a little bit of a ramble, but let me know if that resonates with you. What are you doing for you? Um, does this resonate with you? Like, where were you at in your journey? What was your turning point? I'd love to know. And if there's anything specific in regards to, um, you know, guidance or direction that I can offer based on my own experience or this experience of our students, let me know what questions you have. And I am more than happy to dive into that for you. All right. Until I see you again, I want you to go look in the mirror and find a million reasons to say, thank you. I love you. Bye, guys.